Welcome back to the Reier on YouTube channel, where it is time once again for No Sleep Teal, a program dedicated to discussion involving the National Football League's Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Reier back with you alongside my co-host, Mr. Evan Reier. And Evan, this was a Jacksonville Jaguar team. We talked about it earlier in the week, last week, or later in the week, actually, previewing this matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Seattle Seahawks, floating on air going
Yeah.
into yesterday at EverBank Stadium. I know you were too. Oh, no. Jaguar Nation, that was kind of the consensus when you talk about a 3-game winning streak. You just beat one of the dynastic clubs in NFL history in the Kansas City Chiefs, but that also meant you were coming off that shortish week anyway. And as it played out, that thud you heard over on the banks of the St. Johns River, that was the Jags coming back to earth after that 20-12 loss to the visiting Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, it was kind of a tough one. It's if you are going to get your first home loss of the season, it being a, non-conference opponent, is more than likely going to be in the playoffs themselves. I don't think you got to overreact or anything like that. But it really wasn't a great performance, pretty much in any phase of the game. I wouldn't say that the Jaguars necessarily were exceptional. But this kind of thing happens. I think what was probably the most concerning was just the fact that they, kind of had to scrape and claw just to stay within a score. Seahawks
Mm-hmm.
probably could have won that game by probably 2 scores, maybe even more. But the Jags also had their chances early, as we discussed before the podcast.
Yeah, you miss an extra point. Cam Little does. You miss a field goal that you've grown accustomed to seeing him make, even from a decent distance. I'm not ready to panic where Cam Little is. I'm sure some Jaguar fans have already hit the eject button for the second year kicker, but let's not forget this guy got off to a tremendous start to his professional career. We'll see where it goes from here. You worry about him now, maybe a little bit more mentally, because this is
Yeah.
really the first bit of adversity that
His
he's run
first
into.
cold streak,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so you want to see how he responds to that. But I'm with you. It was a 20-12 final. It didn't really feel that close, but the Jags did have opportunities, even in the fourth quarter or later in the game, to make that thing a lot more interesting than it ended up being. You had some injuries you were dealing with too. I mean, that not to
Yeah.
excuse the performance, because I think from the staff to the preparation to execution, all those things, it wasn't good enough, pretty much, as
Yeah.
you saw on Sunday. But you didn't have your starting center in Robert Hainsey. You got through that Chiefs game there at the end with Jonah Monheim stepping in there, a seventh round draft pick rookie from USC, who has, I think, a bright future. You lose Devin Lloyd about 15, 20 snaps into the game from your defense, and he's been off to just an all pro type of start at the
Yeah.
linebacker position. And you knew this going in. You weren't going to have Brenton Strange at the tight end position. That impacts you in your passing game, kind of that security blanket that you love for Trevor Lawrence, but also a big part of what they like to do and their identity in more of a run first approach under Liam Cohen. And your offensive line in general, right, was
He's
pretty
really beat
banged
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, they desperately need a week off, and they get to go to London instead. So, it's kind of a tough turnaround. But yeah, that's, I mean, 7 sacks, right? And I'd
Hmm.
probably only credit Trevor with maybe one of those on terms of like just not getting the ball away or not making the right decision. I actually think, I mean, we can get more into it in a second, but I actually think Trevor played very well considering the circumstances. But yeah, Wyatt Milam kind of got belt to butt in this game. It's a tough ask, I think I hope it's clear to all Jags fans exactly how important Robert Hainsey is to this offensive line. That dude is legit, and not having him showed up in a big way. I also thought that, again, he's beat up. Just about everybody on the line's beat up, but man, Walker Little kind of got destroyed in this
Yeah.
contest. It was not fun watching the Marcus Lawrence kind of line up on him. Same thing with Leonard Williams when they were kind of flexing him outside. But the Seahawks defense is very good, even without some
Hmm.
of their key names
They had
in
injuries
the
too.
secondary.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they are legit. They are a good team. Um, kind of going back to the in terms of offensive line overall performance. I mean, this was the worst run per carry game that the Jags have had. They could not run the ball to save their life, and you make Trevor Lawrence throw the ball 40 plus times. We've said a billion times, you're probably not in good shape to win the game.
Yeah, you're not Tannehilling him at that point.
Yeah,
And I agree. When your quarterback takes 17 hits like Trevor
yeah,
did in the game, even if there are a handful where Trevor's got to be better in terms of processing, getting the ball out maybe quicker, that's a big, big number that has to go
yeah,
back to the front, to your protection schemes, to your protection execution from everyone involved. And DeMarcus Lawrence showed you, man, he still got some juice
yeah,
as a pass rusher. The problem is it wasn't just Lawrence
yeah. It
that
was
gave Jacksonville a lot of trouble. It was 4 or 5 different guys.
Yeah, no, they were getting pressure from both sides, but it's it's a tough ask. I get it, but yeah, I don't know. I was curious too because LaQuint Allen kind of had like a significant decrease in snaps. It didn't seem like he was in there on pass pro as much as he's been over the first 5 weeks, and I'm just kind of wondering why. Just because it seemed like it worked really well when the Jaguars were in third and long over the past like 4 or 5 weeks, getting him in there. You think about the throw to Travis Hunter in the 49ers game. LaQuint Allen picks up a block on that. Um, but for whatever reason, I guess maybe the Jaguars were just thinking we need to have our explosive running backs back there to be able to make a play. But just it never really happened. Um, you know, Lawrence definitely missed a few throws here and there, but overall, I
Mhm.
mean, I wasn't mad with the showing. Is in kind of the same vein with the passing game. Brian Thomas Jr. looked the part again. Definitely his best game of the year by far. That's probably my biggest positive takeaway from this loss is just that BTJ looked the part. And if Travis Hunter can line up on side, then the bobble TD catch. That's not necessarily a credit to BTJ on that play, but
Mhm.
you wouldn't have minded him having instead of an 80-yard touchdown game, 125, 30-yard game with 2 touchdowns. So yeah, that's a bummer, but really it's kind of representative too of like this team still struggles to line up correctly. This team still struggles to get plays off. I mean, 10 penalties for 76
Mhm.
yards, and I think 8 of those were offensive miscues on the snap. And it's just, I know that it's a work in progress. It's a lot of new guys, a lot of young kids as well in this kind of group. But at some point, you hope to see this finally kind of come to an end. You thought maybe with the Chiefs game that they had gotten past it because they really were kind of quiet in that regard, but kind of back to the norm.
Resurfaced. Yeah.
Against the Seahawks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the Jags rushed for 59 yards in the game, and Seattle only ran for 60. So you consider that a wash. But I think most people would agree, even with Sam Darnold in there at quarterback, because he may have the NFL's, if he's not the top receiver in the NFL, Jackson Smith in Jigba is right there in the top 3 or 4 right now.
Yeah,
He
he's so
is
good, man.
tremendous, and he torched the Jags. And you look at yards per attempt by the two quarterbacks in the game.
Oh
Sam
yeah,
Darnold nearly doubled Trevor Lawrence.
doubled.
I mean, Trevor threw it 42 times, which was 15 times more than Sam Darnold threw the football, and he threw for 37 less yards than
Yeah,
Sam Darnold. So that
yeah,
tells you Darnold at nearly 11 yards per attempt, and you look at the yards per catch for in Jigba with 20.3 yards per catch on 8 receptions. A tight end and AJ Barner goes 3 for 71. That's 23.7.
yeah,
Cooper Cup only had 2 catches in the game, but one was for 29 yards. So the explosive plays, uh, that's where you had a lot of separation in this game. It's tough when you can't protect your quarterback and you're not getting enough heat on the other team's quarterback and your back end can't hold up, which the
yeah,
Jaguars on defense did not do on Sunday.
yeah. You talk about the Seahawks rushing yards total. It's like, well, if they are hitting 60-yard pass plays, they're probably not gonna,
Hmm.
be able to run for a whole lot of yards. But Yeah, you talk about the back end. Greg Newsome's first snap. They literally didn't have him in the game all game until he gets absolutely torched by Jackson Smith and Jigba, which, that's not an easy first snap, I guess, with your new team,
Hmm.
but still kind of wondering what was happening there.
He
Breakdown
acted
time.
like he thought it was on Dewey, maybe to
Well, and
provide some help
Do
over the top. And the way he played the coverage, Newsom did, he was either wrong in his technique
or
or
wrong in his understanding of the play.
or you wouldn't think Dewey at this time, not being the new guy and being in the position he's been in now for several weeks in this defense, that Dewey would blow that coverage. I guess it's possible he got caught sniffing around and they got the post over the top. Bottom line there is, between those two guys, somebody's got to be deeper than the deepest. And
Yeah.
nobody was, especially
Well,
with who the ball was going to, right?
yeah,
I mean,
and
that
they
wasn't Arroyo or somebody that they snuck down the seam.
and Jigba passes them, he splits them at like the 15-yard mark. It's not even like it's like, oh, well, like one of us tried to start getting back. It's like, no,
Hmm.
like he hit the first down marker and it was green light. Like it was, Darnold didn't
Yeah.
even need a lot of time to throw because at that point you
No.
just chuck it. But yeah, Dewey kind of had a rough game in general. I'm
Hmm.
not gonna lie. Like, we know Dewey's ceiling. We know that he's not a superstar or anything like that. But you think about like the end of the game, the kind of back-breaking play that the Eagles hit to AJ Barner, or I mean the Seahawks hit to AJ Barner to kind of
Yeah.
seal it. Dewey kind of gets embarrassed not just once but like twice on that play.
Hmm.
Kind of just a rough look for him. Kind of a rough look for the entire group because Jordan Lewis got schooled in the end zone on a play as well. Yeah, it was kind of a comeback to earth
Yeah.
moment for that defense after a dream start over the first 5 weeks. And I actually thought that while Devin Lloyd missing obviously hurts because he's playing at like defensive player of the year kind of caliber. I thought
Hmm.
Ventrell Miller did a solid job when he came in. They didn't credit him with a half sack, but the one sack in the game was Miller and Eric Armstead collapsing on Darnold. Um, and overall, it's kind of nice to see that Miller, despite not getting a lot of snaps to kind of start the year, is still looking like he can do a job if needed. Speaking of Devin Lloyd, it does seem like the injury is not
Hmm.
catastrophic or anything like that. They just were playing it safe.
Yeah.
They
Calf.
said he could have come back in more in the second half, but they just didn't want to risk it. I actually love that choice. I'd rather live to see another day, kind of vibe. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
thought, the Jaguars defense, 7 tackles for loss. I mean, you'll take
yeah,
that a lot of weeks. And again, you go back to the job against Kenneth Walker the third and Zach Charbonnet and that run game. Um, the two backs for Seattle go for 58 yards on 22 carries.
no, I mean you take that all
That's
day.
a winning type situation. But man, the explosives in the passing game were
That's
really
what's
tough.
kind of
And to your point, it wasn't just one guy. I mean, Newsom, Dewey, however that played out. But it was kind of across the board that just about everybody for the Jags got some of the smoke.
yeah. I mean, like I said, with Lewis getting beat, it was Cooper Cup. If there's anyone that can run an out route good enough to beat a really
Yep.
good corner, it's Cooper Cup. In some cases, you just have to give credit to the Seahawks, the quality of team that they have. That being
Hmm.
said, it is weird to me that you hold the Seahawks rushing offense to such a little number, but you kind of get bit on play action and all that stuff. I get that that's like the whole point of play action and stuff, but generally, when you're able to stop the run, you're then prepared
Yeah.
for deep pass shots. Like you're ready for that, and the
Hmm.
Jags just weren't. Um, another weird thing about it is that the Jags forced 7 punts in this game. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not
No.
like that the Seahawks were just decimating, and really the Seahawks punted 3 times in the fourth quarter. The offense had every opportunity to go get the
Hmm.
equalizing score, and they just couldn't.
Yep.
They
Nope.
just didn't have the gas. So I don't want to pick on the defense too much. I actually,
Yep.
I'd give it like a C or a C minus maybe. Whereas with the offense, I feel like you can't really give it anything better than like a D plus. I mean, really, it's just did not work. even if you give them any excuses for injuries, it's like you still got to find a way to kind of make this happen. I'm kind of also hitting the point when you talk about, I guess, explosiveness on offense. We're talking about what Jackson Smith and Jigba can do and whatnot. I'm curious, like, how you get Travis Hunter into more spots. I don't mean get him the ball more, but just like net or like a ton more. But how do you get him in more spots that he can show off what he can do? Because every week we watch him like make two dudes miss and pick up a first down, or he
Mhm,
makes the insane catch,
mhm,
in the Chiefs game. But it just doesn't seem like the majority of his targets or the majority of the design plays for him kind of put
mhm.
him in a spot to succeed.
Yeah, I don't know how often he's the first guy in the
Yeah.
read either, because you do have Brian Thomas Jr. out there.
Yeah.
Um, I think in some ways you might look at him as more of a quick game option because he is sort of a punt return waiting to happen when you get him the
Right.
ball in space, like you talked about, his ability to make people miss. But he showed you against the Chiefs. I mean, if you give him a shot down the field to go up and make a play, even with two defenders in the neighborhood, he's capable of doing that. But yeah, 4 catches for 15 yards yesterday for Travis Hunter on 7 targets. Yeah, you certainly want to see numbers more um, more lofty
Yeah.
than that. And I think that for this team, there's just that reality of introspection after a game like yesterday. You've got to look at yourself. You didn't handle the Chiefs win all that well.
Right.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine that having been a great week of prep for the Seahawks. And you still only
Yeah.
lost by a score. It's still a one-score game. You still
Yeah.
had opportunities, which I think is sort of the glass half full of all this. That wasn't a great performance from top to bottom from the Jaguars on Sunday, but 4-2, as you said, heading to London. That's not ideal, but you got the bye week coming after London.
Yeah. Just
So
get
if
through
you
it.
can kind of get through this, and there's questions about Puka Nakua for the
Yeah.
Rams
He's.
coming up this
I don't
week.
see a world in which he plays this
Plays this
weekend.
week.
So
So
yeah.
that's a big silver lining for you looking ahead to that latest trip to London. 4-2 through 6 games. Neither of us had that happening. I know the revisionist
Nope.
historians like to come out after a performance like yesterday and go, "Oh, the sky's falling." No, it's really not. I mean, I know we talked about 2-5, 3-4 being the ceiling coming out of London. This team, regardless, is going to be 4-3, 5-2 going into that bye week. Um, and I don't think even the most ardent Jaguar fan could have realistically thought that could be the case with 5 wins in 7 games heading into the bye.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, no matter what, you're still positive, even if you walk away with a loss next week. And really, we talk about handling the Chiefs win. When the Jaguars last lost, they bounced back with a gritty win over the Texans. If this is the thing that Liam Cohen can do for this team, if he can
Mm-hmm.
kind of get that fire burning, if they can find ways to win after kind of demoralizing losses or kind of discouraging ones, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. But the Rams are another good team, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. But like you said, if Puka Nakua can't go, then I mean that's their number one. I mean he was a triple crown candidate coming into this
Mm-hmm.
past week, so um, you really just kind of want to get healthy yourselves. That's kind of what I'm going to be like most eager about this week, even more so than the game prep or what the Rams are doing. But just like, okay, can we get some positive news on the offensive line getting healthy again? Can Devin Lloyd, get back in practice and be all right? And yeah, just going from there because the only thing really that I would feel concerned about, when we talk about all the stuff coming after the bye week and feeling positive going into it, whatever, is just how healthy is this team? If you get, kind of 49ers esque injury luck over, the rest of the season, then, it doesn't matter how, good your coach is or quarterback or whatever. It's like, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, so important for this team offensively to sustain balance. And when I say that, I'm not necessarily saying they need to run for 150 a game or anything like that, but just running back production,
Yeah.
distribution across the board, and they didn't get that from the backs and really the tight ends. Although, if you had Tim Patrick right on your fantasy team this week,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
catch,
Well,
26 yards, and a touchdown for
you're
Tim Patrick.
if you're in that 14-man league, if you're really really digging for a receiver, then
Your
Tim
number
Patrick might have
7 receiver.
been a nice. Hey, I'm in an 8-man league, and that means everyone's got powerhouse squads. There's just not enough teams to have all the great players. One of my opponents dropped Brian Thomas Jr. last weekend, so I picked him up, had him on the
Oh,
team, and
wow.
perfect timing. So I
Yeah.
was pretty pleased with that. I know
You
no one
like
cares
that.
about my pick.
You like
Yeah,
that busting coverage in the first quarter
yeah.
by that
No,
Seahawks
that was
defense,
that was a
because
weird one
that's an
too. Like
absolute bust. That was like in Jigba, excuse me, yeah,
yeah,
that's like, the touchdown to, Smith and Jigba, how you let him get deeper than deepest. Brian Thomas Jr. just working down that sideline. They busted a switch or something there, Evan, so I'm sure you did take that.
Also, I want to say that I am sorry. I should have just picked the Seahawks, and the Jags would have won this game. I do take responsibility for my bad choice there. 4 straight weeks that I've incorrectly predicted the winner. Just want to say that's a special kind of
I
talent that you can only find on No Sleep Teal. Also, we did have a small mistake last week. We did not factor in the Jason Myers revenge game.
Revenge
Uh,
game. Yeah, I
yeah,
thought about that when he
uh,
made that
that's
53 forking yarder, you know?
that's on us.
Yep.
Jason Myers, good guy, took a photo with me when I was like 18 years old
Yes,
in
he did.
Nashville. So
Yeah.
I still got the photo in my phone. Jason, I'm sorry, and I hope you
Never meant
enjoyed
to
the win.
doubt you at
Yeah,
all. Yeah, I thought about that Jason Myers revenge factor as well.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you know, 27 completions for Trevor for 258. That's 9.6.
per
Sam Darnold
completion.
just 16 completions for 295. So doubled the Jags in yards per catch and led them in yards per attempt by about 50% too. So, yep, we'll look
Woof.
ahead to the Jags and the Rams coming up later this week on No Sleep Teal. Again, Ev, you okay with Cam Little? You fading him at this point, or you still going to ride with
I
him?
mean, I
You know,
definitely, I definitely,
he cost us Firehouse. You know, I
yeah, he
mean,
did.
that was what we did have working for us. It looked like maybe for a second.
Before I answer, I actually want I'll give you something to think about. If the Jags got like 3 straight holding penalties on PATs, and then Cam made the PAT from like 48, does that count?
I like that. I
If it
like where your
doesn't, it
head
should.
is.
I'm
Yeah.
just looking ahead. I'm just trying to think about the possibilities. Anyways, uh, I am cool with Cam right now. It's fine. These kinds of things happen. Even some of the all time greats of the past 20 years have had those stretches where you're just not great. He knocked down a pretty critical field goal against the Chiefs.
Yeah, he did.
Was kind of hoping that would be the turnaround, and then you kind of follow up with this. Um,
I
I'm
don't like
not.
to see the extra points
Yeah.
go awry.
Well,
That's the
and
big one.
if you go back and if you go like look at like the full game, like I don't think it's seen in the highlights, but he like slams the crap out of his helmet on the sideline. Like he's not happy right now. Like I know that for a fact. Cam wants to do better, do better. We know he knows that we all want him to do better, and I'm definitely willing to give him at least until the game after the bye week. Let's say they go to London and he misses a couple more. You're definitely on the hot seat at that point,
Mhm.
but you don't cut him going into the bye week. You might work out a guy or two, just keep an eye on some guys, but you don't do anything there. Now, if you go through that and then the Raiders game and he's still causing issues, I don't think that as a playoff contender you can kind of afford to roll the dice with someone. I love
Cam
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 Little.
Little Cam Little, by the way, has made 88% of his field goal attempts still
Yeah, it's
in his
awesome.
career.
It's
He's
incredible,
37 of 42, and he is 6 of 8 from 50 plus.
which is why
And
I'll give him two. He's got 2 games to work with. If he has a single good game over that span, then he's safe for me. But I mean, it's I think the next 3 weeks are pretty important for Cam Little. Not gonna lie.
Going to be important for the Jags, but still in a good place. Again,
Yeah.
no need to go and seek a tall
Yeah, yeah.
buildings just
It
yet.
was,
But
of course, the Cardinals did what they've done the past 3 weeks, which is take a lead in the 4th quarter and then fail
puke.
to deliver. That would have the Colts had lost to the Cardinals, and everything would be especially like, who cares? Like, who cares about losing to the Seahawks?
How about Callahan out with the Titans today?
Yeah.
Titans made the move on their second year head coach. It was
That
pretty
that was
amazing.
apparently like a rumble for the past few weeks. It was like already like, yeah, they might have to get rid of Callahan. But I am kind of surprised by that. I mean, you kind of told this guy, hey, we're gonna draft the quarterback next year and we're gonna, get it going, it'll be good. And of course it's a terrible start for the Titans, but I mean the dude got, 6 games with this new
Yeah,
quarterback
that's
and
it.
also just got his first win of the season the week prior. And then you just you're
They
good.
stunk though. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
for
they're really bad.
the Jags, if you figure out how to beat the Rams in London, you're 5-2 going the bye week, and then you go to Vegas coming off the bye.
Yeah,
And what's out there schedule wise, it could be very, very special in Duval by the
absolutely.
end of 2025. Ev, anything else before we get out of here as we are live on Reier on YouTube on a Monday afternoon?
No, I wanted to. I don't think we necessarily got to do it on air last time, but happy anniversary to my
Oh,
folks,
wow.
to my
Wow.
my mom and dad. They are vacationing right now, enjoying their 30th. So everybody show some love for that. Getting rained on, from what I can tell, but
There's
that's
Duval
vacation.
there's Duval nor'easters, and it feels like we brought this one up to where we're at in Long Island, the Hamptons area. And
Yeah,
then there are true nor'easters, and there is a difference. I can tell you
yeah,
that now.
you're learning.
I checked that one off the old bucket list. But in all seriousness, thanks a lot, Ev. You have certainly been a great result
Yeah,
of
good
our 30
benefits.
years. Absolutely, man.
Pro of
Tax deduction, all those things.
yeah,
So
happy to
we
help.
really appreciate it.
The full rights college scholarship.
Yeah, he did.
I'm
He
always
did. You took
always
care of the tuition. So
I
a
did
lot
my
of
part. You
you
know.
did. You absolutely did. And you still do. Right here on No Sleep Teal. For Evan Reier, I'm Travis Reier. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button for us. Subscribe to Reier on YouTube, and we'll check in with you again real soon.